you're learning to roller skate, you often get told that you need to lock in the fundamentals first before you start doing tricks. In fact, I may have said this 1 or 2 times myself. This skill no one talks about is a fundamental of all skating. Fundamental of so many skills. This is such a core fundamental, the hardest fundamental skills. Fundamental move. But what are the fundamentals? No fundamentals list would be complete without learning how to fall, and I have an entire video on this, and you're going to hear me say that quite a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a fundamentals playlist so you can find all the videos I mentioned in this video nice and easily. You can practice falling before you even get your skates. So if you're just standing up, just think about, oh, I'm going to fall, and grab your knees or grab your ankles. The last thing you want to do is this. So posture when you're roller skating is all about these. You can't bend your knees too much when you're roller skating. Think of them as your shock absorbers. So if you're going to wobble, you can use them to help you rebalance yourself. Now, when you're skating forwards and you're learning, we say lean forwards. But we don't mean here, don't curve your back. When I say put your weight forwards, what I mean is bending your knees so your knees go over your toe and you keep your back straight here. You see the difference to here and here. So that is where you want to be. So try and keep your back nice and straight. So the next skill you need is a nice, confident forward skate. And this can be however you feel comfortable. Bubbles, marching, whatever works for you. And again, I've got loads of videos on this, so I shall link those in the fundamentals playlist. So obviously, once you've learnt to skate forwards, you're going to want to stop at some point. One of the biggest mistakes that a lot of learners make with stopping is dragging their toe stop with their toes pointing downwards, which feels really uncomfortable, and your toe bounces all over the place. So if you're going to use your toe stop to stop whilst going forwards, make sure you turn that toe out and your hip and drag it behind you. What you want to do is put it in gently, and as you start to slow down, you can increase the pressure so you come to a nice gentle stop. So I have videos on stopping with and without toe stops. So again, I'll add those to the fundamentals playlist. Edges are what I consider to be one of, if not the most fundamental moves of skating, and unfortunately it often gets overlooked by quite a few beginners. So let's talk about what they are and why they are so important. Quad skates have 2 edges, an outside edge and an inside edge, and the inside edges you get by leaning on the big toes, and the outside you get by leaning on the little toes. Why are they so important? So say for instance I'm learning a bubble. So I'm going to do my bubble and I'm going to lean on my inside edges like this. Now, if I'm learning this and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere, I don't understand, I can't roll. It could be that I'm leaning on my outside edges, because if I lean on my outside edges and do a bubble, I do a plough stop. So this is why it's so important that you know what edges you need for the move you're trying to execute, because it's going to make things so much easier and you'll progress so much quicker. So very often a new skater will say, oh, my skate feels like it's pulling to the right or the left. Now it can sometimes be that the cushion isn't quite seated in the cushion cup, so it's always worth a check, but often it's because a new skater doesn't quite know where the weight is on their foot. So it may feel like it's pulling one way or the other, but actually you're leaning that way. So just have a feel and work out where your weight is. Are you leaning towards the little toe or the big toe? So when you're doing an edge, you should find that the wheels, when you lean, flex towards each other. Now lots of people will say, oh, have you loosened your trucks? But you're like, well, how do I know if I need to loosen them? How do I know if they're too loose? So my rule of thumb is, if you start to lean, so I'm going to lean on my little toe, so you should make a curve when you lean. But if you lean and you're like, well, I'm not going anywhere, and you're having to do this because leaning is ineffective, that probably means you need to loosen your trucks. Do it very slowly, half to a quarter of a turn at the bottom, test it and be like, okay, oh, I'm getting an arc now, that's good. And you'll soon feel if you go too loose, because you won't be able to control the skate. It will feel like it's just going over. Even if you're trying to skate forwards, you'll feel like you're wobbling. once you've got that really confident forward skate, you can start to think about trying to skate backwards. Now you've got a few options. You can do a bubble, or you can do some marching backwards like this. What a lot of people like is a bit of a slalom, what I call the wiggle. So you can kind of do almost a 1 foot bubble. And that's quite a nice way with 2 feet on the ground to get moving backwards. So there's a reason I've put transitions or turns at this point in the list, because I think it's really, really important that you can skate forwards and backwards comfortably before you start thinking about turning. That way, once you turn, you've got the idea of how to skate backwards so you can cope. Otherwise, if you've never skated backwards before, the chances are you'll either stop or perhaps fall over. So this way, it's much, much safer and much more fun. Being able to balance on 1 foot and transfer your weight will open up so many more skills for you and make it a lot easier, and it really levels up your skating. So this is a skill that you really, really need. Being able to create speed and momentum by pushing is a really important skill for skating. And again, this really levels up all of your skills. So make sure to really concentrate on this one. And again, I have a video. So I know that this seems like a lot of skills to say that they're all fundamental, but if you work your way through them progressively, it will make a huge difference, and you'll find that things will unlock quicker. So you'll be like, oh, I want to do a back outside edge on 1 foot. And you're like, oh, actually, that's not as hard as I thought it was going to be, because you've got all these fundamentals ticked off. So work through it, have fun, and remember, practice, practice, practice. I'm Katie, you've been watching Skatie, and I'll see you next time. Bye!